Present.
Trustee Newell.
Present.
Trustee Palafis.
Present.
Trustee Stanton.
Present.
Trustee Gata. Trustee Arnett.
Present.
Mayor McLeod.
I'm present. Trustee Gate is also present. He's in another meeting, and he'll be down here shortly. Trustee Mills, you want to lead us in the pledge? Okay, we have one item of business, a request by Poplar Creek LLC owner and Stonegate Properties, Inc. applicant for an extension of a special use amendment under Section 9-8-2C-9 zoning code to allow retention of an outdoor patio area on the west side of the Stonegate Conference and Banquet Center located at 2401 West Higgins Road with 6 conditions. Mr. Gugliata, you got the floor.
Well, the petitioner, this was continued from, I believe, September 11th, with the expectation that the petitioner would resolve outstanding property maintenance issues. They have not completed that work. And
Have they started?
they have done a few minor things, but there is a significant amount of work yet to do. And they submitted a request last week asking to be given one more month to the December 18th meeting. They asked for an extension of this item.
Okay, Chairperson Combs, do you have any input on this? Don't make you come all the way here and not get to talk. Come on. That's right.
I just would like to comment that on the 2 meetings that we had at the Planning and Zoning Commission, one where he didn't show and the second one he showed, there has been no progress on any of these code violations. And now again, they're asking for an extension and he still hasn't done anything to repair them. And there doesn't seem to be any effort going in to do that.
Any questions from the village board? Trustee Palafis.
I'm not compelled to approve an extension where they're not at least showing some effort.
Do you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we deny the request for an extension based on the fact that there's no activity in terms of the issues being taken care of through, our code department.
This motion, is there a second? Trustee Gata, we have a motion and a second. Trustee Gata, your other meeting is over?
Yes.
We have a motion, a second, to deny the request for an extension on the special use. Trustee Mills.
The problems that still need to be solved, a lot of that has to do with concrete and building restoration, that type of thing, which isn't going to get done this time of year anyway.
Yeah, unfortunately, the fact that they're waiting later into the year is going to make it difficult. The entire back portion of the property, the west parking lot and the rear area, the asphalt pavement is significantly deteriorated.
And the plants will be closing down any day now.
Right. There are some things they probably can address, but there's also a significant amount of landscaping. The only item that I would say in their, I don't want to say defense, but the one item that's unique on this site is the fountain at the front of the building is the wall is coming apart, and they've actually had somebody out and looked at it and recommended it's not something that can be repaired, and they weren't going to be able to do that this year. That's something I could see logically could wait till the spring.
Right.
Unfortunately, like you said, it's November at this point, and I don't honestly don't know how much progress they're going to be able to make in a month. On the other hand, we have the area and the tent and the patio are present, and I guess we still need to address the fact that special use will need to be addressed if we don't extend it, or we don't have the petitioner here to discuss where this is headed.
Well, that's a totally separate issue from the code violations.
Correct.
Trustee Palafis.
Yeah, just to pile on to that comment, if they're not even showing up to EVA's committee meetings to have the discussion or to say, hey, you know what, here's our timeline. We got to late in the year, and we have a project plan that has everything addressed through May or June of 2018, but we've got nothing. So I'm not voting for it.
He was supposed to show up to the first meeting with all the dates or everything completed, or at least, some kind of game plan about completing it, and we never got anything.
So the only indication that they're even remotely interested in remedying this is they sent you a letter, Mr. Gugliotta, or they called you or emailed you? or-
I attached to the board agenda packet, there's a cover memo from Mr. Norris, and attached is the email that I received from Doug Altenberger, which was very brief.
Dear Mr. Gugliotta, the Stonegate Conference and Banquet Center is requesting to continue the village date to December 18th, which will allow us to get many open items completed for the board. Please let me know if you have any questions. Doug Altenberger. Okay.
That's the extent of that. After the committee or the board discussed this on September 11th and continued it to tonight, staff did speak with the applicant, with Doug. He actually came in, we met with him, we went over the violations again in detail. We actually went back out and re-inspected the site to make sure we were being current in what we were looking for, and communicated that punch list to him after your September 11th meeting. So we've tried to make sure we took all the steps appropriate so there would be no confusion about what needed to be done. And he's not asking questions about what needs to be done. He's just,
You're not doing it.
he has
Essentially, he's not
he has
doing
not
it.
done anything, and you have the email asking for an additional month, so.
Trustee Gata.
I'm sorry that I'm late. I did not hear what you were discussing before, and I see that they're extending this to December 18th. Do you know what, though? This packet that staff gave to us does not show anything of the problems that they had before, and if they did fix them, why wouldn't we have yesterday and today in the packet so we could compare what they have done? Or haven't they really and truly?
They really haven't done anything,
I believe that.
so there was no comparison to make.
Trustee Palafis.
Problem is, if we don't, don't approve a special use, it's a Christmas season, I have no idea what they're going to do with their venue.
Well, you think they'd be interested enough to show up
One would think
or
so.
correct the problems, the
So
violations.
why are we delaying this to the 18th?
We're
That's,
not,
that's a request.
So
we're not.
before you joined us, I made a motion to deny the request for an extension. And Trustee Arnett seconded it. So you're right in line with the rest of us, coincidentally. So not to worry. Your gut instinct's leading you north. So
And Trustee Gata wasn't another meeting, so he really,
That's right.
he really wasn't late.
well, I didn't mean that. Sorry.
Okay, is there any further discussion as a motion, a second to deny the request? There any-
Is the motion to deny the denial, the deferral, or is it to deny the
The motion is
request?
to deny a continuance
Okay.
to September 18th.
Okay,
So then what happens?
then we'd
We'll
have to
get
make
back
another
to the-
motion.
I'm sorry?
Then we,
We'll get back to this issue here.
yeah.
Oh,
So this is to deny extending it to the 18th.
It's a two-motion issue.
It's not to
Yeah.
necessarily deny it outright.
This is nothing
Yeah.
on the merits. This is just whether it's going to be heard tonight or heard on December 18th.
oh, okay.
Any other comments? See none, can you pull the board, Madam Clerk?
Trustee Mills.
Aye.
Trustee Newell.
Aye.
Trustee Palafis.
Aye.
Trustee Stanton.
Nay.
Sorry.
Why'd you
Trustee Gata.
Aye.
Trustee Arnett.
Aye.
Mayor McLeod.
Aye, motion carried.
Okay, now the matters before the,
Now the matter is before the board whether to extend the special use or not. Is there a motion on that?
So I'd make a motion that we do not extend the special use based on the.
You have to make it in the affirmative.
Gotcha.
No, this arcane planning and zoning
Thanks.
stuff.
You saw me
know?
going down that cul-de-sac. but thank you for grabbing me. I'd make a motion to approve the request as stated.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion, a second. Any discussion on this motion? Trustee Stanton?
Was this for 5 years, this extension?
I believe, yes.
Yes, but it would be 5 years from the date of vote rather than May.
Yeah, here it is.
Correct. It was a request for a 5-year extension, which is what, from the original approval, the board had been granting 5-year extensions previously. So they were asking for an additional 5 years.
The original tent?
Yes.
I believe so, yes.
If this motion is not approved to extend it, how will we address current contracts for them? I mean, do we have any authority, we would just,
Oh, that's what you were saying.
yeah,
I don't think that's our problem.
okay. I mean, this would be effect, all right, put it this way, it would be effective as of when?
Immediately upon unless you
Unless you give an
grant
effective
some
date.
window of time. And I will say that to step back a second, the conference center was approved, everything was inside the building originally, there was nothing outside. They came in for the patio, which is actually, it's the approval of the space outside and the tent. When it was approved, and including, I think, up until this current request, when they used the patio and the tent outside, that basically means they're not using one of the rooms inside the building. So they have to manage their programming because they don't have parking on the site to completely fill the inside of the
Yeah,
building.
tell me about it, last week they did that.
Right. So the approval was really only for the tent when it's in use would be an alternative to an inside option. That on paper, at least, that's the way it's supposed to be managed by them. So I don't, and we do not, obviously, we've had very limited conversations with them about the maintenance, and we've had no conversations with them about an exit strategy if this was not approved. And because at that point that the board decides it's no longer in effect, then it's not legal for them to utilize that. The tent would have to come down, and they would not be able to use the patio area,
Theoretically.
theoretically.
Trustee Palafis.
I mean, I hate taking such a hard line on this, but I just don't see movement. And, you know, I know it's going to light you guys up like a Christmas tree tomorrow on the
Oh,
phones.
yeah, we have plenty of phone calls.
But nevertheless, you know, and that might align compliance, unfortunately. And then there's a reapplication process for that special use and
Right.
et cetera. So it's unfortunate that it got to this point. But I think, as I think of other special uses in the village, we would take the same action.
I totally agree.
So
Okay,
So motion to second. Any other questions?
I think
Trustee Stanton?
Mr. Norris is saying.
Mr. Norris wants to say something first.
No,
I
he's
think.
not on the village board. You're a trustee.
I was going to say, this was originally passed unanimously by the Plan Commission, correct?
No,
It was not?
I don't believe so.
It says.
Oh, and it is? I guess it was. but-
In 2001 or 2005? Or
No,
what?
just
No,
now.
extension.
Just now, by a 9-0 vote, Commission unanimously recommended approval of the special use
Of course,
request.
that was on representation that all these items would have been taken care of before the trustee meeting.
Yeah, but there's nothing here that I have that shows that
Well, there was a condition.
there was a condition.
Condition 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it wasn't done by November. Well, they still got 2 days.
Also, whichever way you vote, you may want to consider either A, not doing it for 5 years, or putting in some kind of restriction on annually passing a code compliance check.
Will it matter? I mean, they haven't corrected the violations already. So
I
what-
don't know.
What's the point to that?
Yeah, but I mean, if they voted to extend the special use, that we've got to stay on top of this.
I wouldn't vote to extend anything until they comply
Okay.
with the
Peter,
violations personally.
If we vote to go ahead with the Plan Commission's recommendation, or initial recommendation, what control do we have on fixing their problems there? Do we give them just violations after violation and they have to pay?
Mr. Norris.
Trustee Stan's correct. You get into a situation where we would be citing them. It would go to administrative adjudication, and they could choose not to fix them, or they could continue to have fines build up against them, depending on what the hearing officer is willing to do. If the board votes to deny the request for the extension of the special use, if you don't put a date, a deadline for when the structure has to be done being used, it puts, and this is fine, it puts the staff in the position of immediately advising them. We're going to have to advise them either way, but he's advising them, and then we're going to have to write zoning violations, and when they could have contracts. Now, that's not our problem, other than those same people will come here as well. The people that have contracts for events, we don't know, so, that they have. Peter, they haven't said word one to you about contracts?
No, we don't know. This is fortunate.
The only thought I would have, and obviously this is fully up to the board to do this, and I agree, you wouldn't let this go on with anybody else requesting a special use, is to say that, and the owner must cease and desist using this by this date. And
Any
you
other
don't
comments?
have to say that either.
Any other comments? Trustee Palafis?
I see all the points, and I completely hear Eva's, comments and whatnot. And, if I was, and I have a heart through this, and believe me, we've dealt with worse, that I've been personally tied to or professionally on their end. So, if I were to throw out a date, it'd be somewhere soon, maybe January 4th or something like that. But I don't, again, I'm not feeling that compelled. At least if they showed up and at least, showed some level of effort, I could get there. But I can't right now. And I want to, but I can't.
Okay, Trustee Bills.
I agree with you. The only problem I have is I feel bad for if anyone, I don't know how many events they plan in there during this time of year.
Oh, tons. I'm sure
'Cause
there's.
It's so cold in that room.
Yeah. Well, oh no, I hear what you're saying.
We know,
Yeah, yeah.
we know for a fact that if this motion is denied this evening, they will be back looking for reconsideration within a week.
Yes.
Fine.
And I'm
You know,
okay
I mean,
with
that's
that.
going to be coming up.
I'm okay with that. Because at least then there's, you're right,
Yeah.
the paths of communication are open,
I mean, I would be willing to look at a January 1 or January 2 date for it to be cease and desist, or I'll go along with whatever the motion maker wishes to do at this point.
I like the idea
To
of
get their
them
attention.
coming back for a motion for reconsideration, and in there, we would put the date. I'd be good with that. Because at least then, we're forcing some communication.
Yeah.
Well, I'm concerned also with the violations that we know exist, and we are not doing anything about it. What if somebody gets hurt? And we're aware of it. I mean, we're talking about this in public, so we're certainly aware. There's all these violations there, and we have done nothing about it.
I believe we should start ticketing on these immediately.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, they should have been ticketed probably prior to this.
Right.
I think it's time to get serious on it now with the
We've
tickets.
if I could, Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead.
Typically, when the board or the Planning and Zoning Commission add in a condition, I mean, most of the time, we don't even have to get to that point with most people that are applying for something from the village. But the fact that a condition was added, it was basically ignored. This is unusual. This is very rare, and I think.
November 16th, the tickets go out.
Right. Well, that was in the Planning and Zoning. That's not binding on this board. The board says tickets go out tomorrow, they go out tomorrow.
Trustee Newell?
I just had a question that, do they have any ground to come back at us for loss of business? I mean, even though they haven't done the violations and whatever, it's just a thought.
Can they come back, or does their argument have any merit? Yes, they can come back and request it. However, the fact that they are operating without the proper zoning, I see no way that the village would be liable under those conditions.
Trustee Palafis?
So I'm thinking of another venue that's popular to all of us that has had a lot of tickets listed against it in years prior. And I've seen our legal team work with them, to work with the fine structure and, navigate through that. So I'm certain that, if this takes the same path, we can accomplish their success at the end of this.
Trustee Norris.
You got a pay cut.
Please don't promote me. Trustee Palovas, I know the one you're referring to, the difference is their special use hadn't been violated, one, and two,
True.
it hadn't expired.
True.
We're really talking apples and oranges. If it's a code compliance issue and they have notice and they're working with us, we have the ability to work with them on issues like, when will the asphalt plants be open? When can the fountain be done? We can do that, and, you know, with the one in question, we actually said, show us your contractor bids. They did, and we were able to work with them. This is different. This is a special use that they need to operate and occupy that tent.
I agree.
To me, I would, at this point, from a staff standpoint, I think we're going to separate the code issues from the site plan zoning issue. The code issues are going to go into the court process. Either way the board decides on the special use. My concern on the special use with having it effective immediately is that there are people with contracts, and you have, you know, people that may
Do you
have.
really think they're going to comply with what we do?
I think it.
They don't have a history of doing that.
No, you're right,
They'll
they
just
don't.
ignore us and they'll continue to
And,
operate
and,
the facility.
and on the bigger issues, they're gonna be lucky to be able to find places to get asphalt from and to do some of the things they need
Well,
to
yeah,
do.
they could have done this a long time ago, so that's fine. Then next spring, there'll be another excuse.
There could.
I think there's also another consideration too, because if you don't vote for the special use, since this was supposed to be a temporary structure, are you going to say that it has to be down by a certain date?
I think the staff would be put in the position of telling them the building can no longer be used. If it is, it's being used illegally, and that the structure needs
tent.
to, the tent.
The tent,
that-
not
Yeah,
the
well, it's a
building.
structure, it's a temporary structure, needs to come down.
Do they have a certificate of occupancy specifically for the tent?
Actually, they do, and the tent is supposed to be, it is a temporary structure and is supposed to be removed periodically and reinstalled. So
Right.
that, it is going to have to come down,
But
whether
if you can
they,
take away the occupancy permit,
right,
then technically that it
And
can't
that-
be used.
correct. That-
But then we're enforcing it.
Mm-hmm.
We're there standing outside the door as people are trying to go use it for.
And it looks, I don't know, almost reflects back on us then at that point with the residents. I mean, I think I'd be more comfortable if we did a 30-day at a minimum to do it that way, to say that they have to cease and desist within 30 days. Something to think about. I'm thinking of, my mind is the people who actually have contracts, although I know it's not our responsibility. We're getting into bad PR at that point for us. That's the only thing I'm concerned about. If it's a life safety issue, then definitely it needs to be closed immediately.
Any other comments?
if I can, I'm sorry, just on the violation, just to clarify that, the violations we have are mostly exterior property maintenance, so they're not life safety. I wouldn't classify them that. They are certainly problems that need to be dealt with, but just, I want to make sure it's not a exiting issue or a fire alarm or something like that, just so it's clear.
Hey, Trustee Palafis, do you have some else?
So 4 weeks from today is the December 11th meeting. I hear you, Trustee Mills, and I'll ride on your conscience for it, because I don't know if mine's there yet. But and the only reason I say that is because I haven't seen any activity. And it was zero. And if it was a 1 and not a 0, I could really go with it. But I agree with the mayor. I don't think we're going to get past a 0 unless we take a harder stance.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the way I felt on it. And yes, I agree with you. We need to be tough on this one.
What I like the idea of the motion for reconsideration and then doing some dates, because at least then it props them up.
Well, then we can demand that they let us know how many events we're talking about, too.
Absolutely, we can get some more information, which we desperately need.
Trustee Gator, do you have something?
I don't think that it's that big of an issue as far as to occupy that with the parties and the functions that they have going on. The thing is that we don't even know how much it's used to begin with, but that building is large enough, and they've been able to handle stuff without even going to that tent.
Oh, that tent's used a lot.
Oh yeah, quite a bit.
You think so?
Yeah.
Well, then I stand corrected with that.
Special
Trustee Newell, you
parties.
have something? You have something, Trustee Newell?
Oh, me,
You.
yeah.
Okay.
The other trustee duel.
The other trustee. Yeah. No, the question I have is this, okay? So is there any way that we can like force his hand and set a date and say he has to show up before us, before we take these last steps? Or did he already had all his chances and he's done?
That is the question tonight regarding the motion that you voted on for continuing it to the 18th. Right. That's basically what
Yeah.
that was.
Trustee Palafis, you got something
So
else?
I do. We have a board meeting, if I'm correct, a week from today. So we could do the motion of reconsideration then with dates. At least it gives our staff a week to say, you know, our board's serious. There has to be more collaboration, and there's not yet.
Well, give him one
Yeah.
chance. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to butt in,
No,
but just
no,
give
you're
him one
not.
chance and come here and show up. If he doesn't show up, that's it, you're done. You're being forced, you're being asked to please come and talk to us. Oh, what the heck? Okay, so. I didn't say any bad words, I didn't, really, I didn't. It's the Sudafed. Anyway, no, but if we can force him to come here and answer some of these questions, and if he doesn't show up, that's it, that's your last chance, you're done.
And that's
You're
like
cooked.
that's likely to be a week from today.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not saying to the 18th, you don't want to keep, because then you're moving it into the holiday seasons, and then now you're shutting down his tent. I'm done,
Where did you
sorry.
recognize?
Trustee Mills.
That's what they just said. That's what we're saying, because now staff would have to relay to them, it's been denied, if it gets voted that way. And you need, if you wish to ask for a reconsideration, it would have to be this week, right?
That's
December 4th.
Because it's the next regular meeting, even though this is a special. So they've got a week to get in here and talk to us. They have to request it.
I think we also have to find out, oh, I'm sorry.
If you just push the item that's the Planning and Zoning Commission report a week, the motion that trustee Palafis made and Mr. Gata made seconded to approve item 3A, that you were gonna, it sounds like mostly vote no for, if you just deferred that until the next meeting, that has the same effect. We can communicate everything else, that the board denied your request to go to the 18th, that they want you there in person, and they want a plan for addressing the code violations, and you need to be there.
And we want to know what their schedule is for using that room.
And that they would like to know the schedule.
And just for clarity, the deferral will be November 20th, a week from today.
Yes, and again, you're not deferring to the date they said, you're only deferring it 1 week to make sure they're in
Correct,
attendance.
correct,
Which
okay.
you've done many times before.
Correct.
For other petitioners.
But I think we need to find out if indeed they're keeping an empty room in the main facility as the original special use had specified, because if that's the case, then if they do have contracts for the tent, they can move it into the main facility.
I think it depends, because they could break those rooms down into smaller rooms, and they may not. You could be using a quarter of one of the bigger rooms and still not have a parking issue.
Okay.
So I understand what you're saying, but first of all, I don't expect we're going to get that much information out of them to even
No.
be able to make that determination, but I'd like to. We can request it.
Okay, we do have a motion, a second, to approve the request for an extension. Anybody have anything else to add to this?
To what?
The motion is to approve the extension. Because it had to be a positive motion.
Well,
This is to the 18th,
You
I
have to
thought.
amend it,
Yeah, you'd have to either withdraw your motion
or
or,
amend it.
Right, so my motion is to approve it because that's the way it's stated, although I'm going to vote no.
it's one
So
of those
I'm not
yes,
going to
no votes.
approve the extension, based on everything we just talked about.
Wait,
The extension to the 18th.
Right.
The one that's in front of us is to approve
The special
the
use.
special use. I know. To approve I thought it was loud enough, to approve the special use, but are we going to vote on that?
That's what you're voting on.
Trustee
As of
Genera, Corporation Counsel, what do you got?
Yeah. The issue you have to decide right now is whether you want to vote the present matter up or down tonight, or whether you want to put that off for 1 week.
So we would change the motion.
That is correct. So if you want to push it off for 1 week, then one of the things this body could do is to withdraw the motion in the second, and then simply make a motion to continue this matter to the 20th. That's one thing you could do, or you could go ahead and proceed and vote this up or down tonight, which means then the special use goes away, and they could come in a week from now and be, in effect, wanting one of the members of this board to make a motion to reconsider, so it comes back up before the board a week from now. Those, I see, are the different avenues that are present.
Trustee Palafis.
Just for my own clarity, if we vote to defer, that's not a denial.
That's correct.
So we don't need to have a motion for reconsideration on something we don't deny.
That's correct.
So I'd rather deny it tonight. Personally, I'd deny it tonight and then make a motion to reconsider next Monday based on some activity that's greater than 0.
That's one of the ways you could do it.
Thus my motion.
So you're
Well,
sticking
we
with the
already
original.
second that.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
the motion, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other comments? If not, poll the board, Madam Clerk.
I thought yes means no.
This is one of those yes/no votes.
Okay, so trustee Mills,
Gee, thanks.
sorry.
No.
Trustee Newell,
You said it was a yes/no thing, right?
No, it's a regular yes or no vote. You made a motion to approve the special use as the planning commission
Right.
recommended.
Okay.
If you're voting yes, you're voting to sustain the planning and zoning commission's recommendation to extend. If you vote no, you're saying no, we don't want to extend it.
Yeah.
okay, and you said nay.
No.
Trustee Palafis,
No.
trustee Stanton,
Aye.
trustee Gata,
No.
trustee Arnett,
No.
Mayor McLeod.
No. Motion defeated.
That was a definite.
Okay, Chair, accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion to second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have a motion carried. We are adjourned.
Oh, boy. So much for a fast meeting.
I would have voted aye if it was.
Okay, you ready? Like to call to order the Transportation and Road Improvement Committee from November 13th, 2017. Can we please call the roll?
Chairman Mills,
Present?
Vice Chairman Stanton,
I'm here.
trustee Arnett,
Present.
trustee Newell,
Present.
trustee Palafis,
Present.
trustee Gata,
Present.
Mayor McLeod.
Present.
Oh, got him in charge of this one. Look for a motion to approve the minutes of October 9th.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any changes, corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. We have one item under new business tonight. Request acceptance of Transportation Division monthly report.
So moved.
I'll second.
Mr. Hanky, anything to report outside of this?
Not outside of the report, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions?
I'll
How's
ask it.
Barrington Road coming?
They're paving. The area northeast corner at Hassel and Barrington has been paved. They're working on signal equipment, underground work there, and ultimately an island, curved island goes in that corner. Sidewalk's been removed that was put in incorrectly on the west side of Barrington Road, south of Hassel. They have put up some of the roadway lights, or poles, I should say. The heads aren't on them yet.
I keep getting
Still a
asked every
number-
night at home, so that's why I'm just trying to
I know.
express the question here.
End of the year.
Yeah, any
My
idea,
Hanky's phone number.
any idea?
Trustee Gata, you had a
when-
question?
Yes, any idea really and truly when it might be finished?
I would, well, my best guess,
Best guess, crystal ball.
my best guess is the majority of the work will be done by the end of the year.
Weather
Meaning,
permitting.
pavement should be done.
Okay,
Other things, whether the paths, sidewalk connections, all the lights, signs, obviously landscaping's not going to be done.
well, at least we can look forward to that.
We have more to look forward to, yes.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Yeah, is the Pace facility still on target for this spring?
Yes, that's what we've heard. The park and ride is advancing. You may have seen some of the underground construction that's going on there. There's a large retaining wall along the Hilton Garden, south edge of the Hilton Garden property that's being installed. The Kiss and Ride, which is the south area off of Pembroke, is, they're talking possibly next summer now.
Okay.
Trustee, yes, Newell.
Yeah, me.
You, the other one.
Hey, you.
Other Newell. Just a quick question on, across Barrington, that is Barrington Road, right, yeah. You have that round silver tube with all the wires hanging up there. Is it always going to be a round tube, or is it going to look kind of nice like this, where they put a cover over it and hide all those wires and Lord knows what else?
Right, the basic shape will be the round tube. However, a lot of that cabling that's up there was temporary as they were moving the heads back and forth across. So I believe they'll be cleaning up the majority of that. I can try to find out exactly what the finished product might look like if you'd like.
Well, because like Trustee Mills, I keep getting asked, like, what is that up there?
Yeah, no,
Lots
that
of wires, I don't know.
the large tube that's going to stay.
Okay.
The signal heads that are going up on them and some signs still remain to be done. And again, there's some temporary cabling there's a large spool on one
Right.
side that'll be going away once they're done.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes had it. President's report?
Yeah, I'd like to congratulate the Hoffman Hawks, who are in the Class 6A semifinals. Go Hawks. They're doing wonderfully, so keep it going, keep it going. Had the opportunity this past week to attend the Mayor's Institute on City Design in Indianapolis. It was a very interesting experience. A lot of talent in one room that we're able to ask questions of and present to, so that was very good. We had a great Veterans Day ceremony on Saturday, November 11th, a really good turnout. Very pleased with that, and that's all I have for now.
Thank you. Is there anything else to come before this committee this evening? Seeing none, I look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. We are adjourned. Thank you.
I'd like to call to order the Planning, Building, and Zoning Committee for the Village of Hoffman Estates on this November 13th, 2017. Roll call, please.
Chairman Stanton.
Present.
Vice Chairman Arnett.
Present.
Trustee Mills.
Present.
Trustee Newell.
Present.
Trustee Palafis.
Present.
Trustee Gata.
Present.
Mayor McLeod.
Present.
Okay, we have a quorum. I'm looking for approval of the minutes of October 9th, 2017.
So moved.
A second.
Thank you. Anybody notice any corrections or deletions that need to be made? Hearing none, I will say one thing. I have noticed in these minutes that any questions that have been asked by any member of the committee up here are not made in the minutes. We just basically have a summary of what has happened without the questions, and I'm wondering why we don't have that.
At a committee meeting several years ago, there was a motion made and seconded that would be the minutes, that there would be a sense of the discussion that would be put into the minutes, but they would not be verbatim with questions anymore.
Okay, that answers that question. Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second on the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Those minutes are approved. Now I'm looking for approval of the minutes of November 6, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Anybody notice any corrections or deletions for those? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, and those minutes are approved as well. Under new business, we have 4 items. First is a request approval for staff to proceed with negotiations for a design-to-build contract with Quantum Signs for design and construction of 2 gateway signs in the 5990 Entertainment District.
So moved.
A second.
Thank you. Mr. Kramer, I see you're up there, so I'm assuming you want to
I do.
tell us about them.
I want some of your feedback on some sign designs as well. So I'm going to give a quick presentation. A lot of this, or some of this is from a couple of years ago, but Trustee Arnett, you weren't here for that, so you get to see it for the first time. Talking about the history of the entertainment district there is, as you guys well know, with the Sears Center and Cabela's, and then we created that this 5990 brand. And then hired a design group to help kind of figure out how to coordinate some of this and give it a little bit better look out there. And then we put that temporary sign, the red and the black circle out there. Yes, that is temporary, regardless of it being installed in 2010.
Kind of like a tent.
Right. And then 5990.com, 59-90.com went live in 2012. And then going on from there, we put up some blue wayfinding signs in 07, 09, 11, and even just this year we added a couple more to add on Duluth and Main Event and some of the new stuff that's been built out there. As I said, we redesigned the website in 2015 to be mobile friendly, and then updated again this year to just kind of refresh it, again, add some of the new businesses that were out there. And now with these new projects, new players out there, they're asking for more signage where they can advertise. Obviously, we know that retailers love their signs. But just letting people know that they're coming into the entertainment district. And so we're looking at these gateway signs and doing one, as you can see where this number 1 is. This is Hoffman Boulevard and 59, so where that red and black disc is now. And then the second sign would be right there, where the Park District Fitness Center is at that intersection. And then tentatively, there's a third sign, but we wouldn't look to do that just yet. It would be on the Beverly and Prairie Stone Parkway corner, across from Odessa and Life Changers there, if you can picture that intersection. That one's not in the scope for right now, just because we don't know what's going to happen on that corner, and so we don't necessarily want to plan a sign and then have to design around it later. So we're really just looking at those 2 points. The kind of tricky thing with all this, though, the village doesn't own either point 1 or point 2, the land there. One is owned by McShane, which owns that whole land where the Prairie Point Medical Building is, the gas station, or soon-to-be gas station, and Culver's is now. No, the gas station still isn't open. No, I don't know when they're going to open.
You're as good as Hanky.
By end of the year, but anyway, a separate development group owns that land, and they were very good to work with us to put up the temporary signs. And then, like I said, the Park District would actually own the land, or owns the land where sign number 2 would go. And so that just kind of adds an extra layer where we would do some type of easement agreement with those 2 organizations. And that hasn't been worked out yet, but that's in process. And so in 2016, we sent out RFPs, got eight of them back. Staff narrowed it down to 5. We interviewed them, narrowed it down to 3 from there. And as on the agenda tonight, staff is recommending Quantum Signs. They're a local group out of Sugar Grove here. They have really strong design skills, and I'll even show you, this is some of the stuff they've done. I don't know if I can put this up here. I hope. Is it going to break?
Mm-mm.
All right, perfect. So this is some of the stuff they've done for us just from concept designs. And so we saw this and saw, okay, they obviously have some design skills. Between the 3D modeling, actually this sign here he just brought me today, that like literally is a sign. It's metal with screws in the back. I mean, you could put that outside and it would probably stand for a while. But they've got experience locally with doing signs at St. Alexius, with Hoffman Estates High School, with Harper. So they've also worked with governing bodies, which I think is a big point for some private corporations might not necessarily know, that it's not just the CEO makes a decision and you go, that it does take some time and you kind of got to do your due diligence. They were also the cheapest of the 3. We gave the vendors the specs for this sign and said, tell us how much you charge to make this and put it at that Hoffman and 59 point. And Quantum was the cheapest. And then the last point, which is really important, at least to me, is the 5-year parts and labor warranty that they offered up front too, with them being the cheapest. That was one of the best warranties, or that was the best warranty that anybody gave. Are we answering questions during?
I would prefer that we hold off questions until
Okay.
we're finished.
Write it down, don't forget. So then, the other thing I want from you guys tonight is, Tom from Quantum Science wanted to be here. His mother just went into hospice tonight, so he apologized for not being able to be here. But I do have somebody from Watchfire who does the digital part of the sign, here to just kind of help take notes. I want some feedback from you guys on just general design concepts. If you like a wider design or a taller design, and I have a few 4 options that I can show you here too. I want to know if you like stone on it, or if you'd rather have brick, if you like the darker elements or kind of the metal look, or if you like a lot of the red or would rather have some black. Not necessarily I like this design and this is the one I think we should pick, but more just what elements do you like, so that once we do go forward, we can sit down with the sign company and really be able to take your thoughts into mind when we're starting the design. That makes sense. So, Mr. Chairman, I don't know if we can take some discussion on these two and then these other 2 designs that I have here as well.
Well, I'll ask you a question. The 2 signs that you have here, you have the billboard that I guess is going to be electronically lit and everything else. Are they going to be the same size, or is one that you're planning bigger than the other?
So, yeah, good question. Sign number 1 at Hoffman Boulevard and 59 would be bigger, and then the sign along Higgins and Prairie Stone Parkway would probably be a little bit smaller. Just because while that is an entrance to the entertainment district, it's not like the main entrance coming off the highway where you're getting most of your traffic going into there.
Okay, and then one of the other questions I have for both of them, who's going to be doing the cost of running these billboards? Is it us? We're
Okay.
paying for the cost, or is it we're going to be charging the different people that are working in the complex?
Good question. So the costs, after pricing them out, are anywhere between $350,000 and $550,000 for the 2 signs. And a lot of that can depend upon, for example, if you're just putting this right at 59 and Hoffman Boulevard, it's probably $150,000. If you're doing a V-shaped sign so that more people can see it from more ways, then you're building two signs, right? If along Higgins we determine that we'll put this one sign, but it needs to be on the back side too. There's a little bit more of a cost, but it's not 2 full signs because you're still just having the one base with 2 electronic boards on either side. So the village would pay for the cost, but that's coming from, the final cost isn't known yet, I guess, because we still have the design phases and the size, the location, the heights, the colors, all that stuff figures in to the cost. I guess the other thing I will say about the cost is $650,000 has been allocated in the CIP for the past several years for this. But going forward,
Can I interrupt? It's actually funded from the, what were the old junior lien bond, not the principal, but the interest earned over the years, and it's free for us to use for any purpose at the EDA.
Okay.
Yeah.
And to get into your question, if I could, any cost for us, the only thing we would be absorbing is the time to do the programming. Everything else would be paid for by the advertisers unless they're the village. And that would be created to go into a sinking fund to ultimately replace this, to maintain and ultimately replace the sign. That's how we've kind of got this spec'd out. And the last thing, Kevin, we talked about that. It's important to get the board's input on these things, but that one of the things that might constrict us and change that is that the amount of space we're actually given. So they may not be able to be the super wide sign. It may have to be one of the taller signs, depending on how much space the landowners we're working with are actually willing to convey.
Okay. Trustee Palafis, you had your hand up first.
Thank you. So I'm going to give you a few different ideas.
Okay.
First of all, the digital sign has to be bigger than the one that the Arboretum has at South Barrington.
Yeah.
Okay? That thing's pretty big. But
we all agree on that.
Run with me here. It's obnoxiously big, and they don't mind the fact that it catches anybody that's veering into our center for theirs, amongst other issues going on. Number two, I like the theme of the prairie stone architecture being a part of the sign, but the amount of digital space is paramount to me. I like the red, and the brushed aluminum look to it because it has the capability to shine, if you will. If you go with the darker colors, it doesn't, to me, have the same pop. It's not as it's got to have almost a startle effect. I think the combination with the brighter colors and and that brushed aluminum polish, and then the big presence of a digital sign with the emphasis of big, like Ben's arenas, it'd be great to have one bigger than that. But that type of presence, even if it's just one massive sign at 59 and Hoffman Boulevard, I think it would have an immediate ROI just in the sense of the advertising that we could put on there, because everybody today is digital, everybody, and we see that the ROI is incredibly fast just from the arena. Those guys had their sign almost paid for before it was even installed. So that's kind of the ideas that I'm circling around. I love these models. You could probably auction these off at some charity event and make some money. But the big companies that are predominant in there are really they really have a tendency to pop for me.
And if I may, that was one thing that, like the companies, we've talked to Cabela's, and Cabela's has their digital sign, so they don't necessarily want to advertise on the digital sign, but they said, we want a permanent place. In the Sears Center, we want to permanently have them on there, so no matter where you are in the cycle of the slide scrolling through, if you pull up to that stoplight, you're always going to see the Sears Center logo, so you know this is where I go to get to the Sears Center. In terms of the advertising, real quick, the idea here is to promote the entertainment district. And so we have a very limited amount of people who could advertise if we're only letting businesses within the entertainment district advertise. And so that's part of, at least to start, staff would manage that in that there's 10 or 15 landowners that could advertise. You have Duluth, Main Event, Saddle Room, the shopping center as a whole. The idea is to go to them. They would buy sign time from us, and then they can distribute it to their tenants as they see fit. So it's limiting the amount of work that staff would have to do to go get advertising. But at the same time, we still kind of have figured in, like Mr. Norris said, that over a 10-year lifespan, this should be paid for when they need to be replaced after that long.
Trustee Mills.
Okay, a couple things. First of all, cosmetically. I love the red circle with the white numbers. The only thought I would have is this on the bigger sign where you've got entertainment district. Possibly that should be in black to stand out more.
Okay.
Because, of course, on that size sign, it kind of fades in. But I'm wondering in sunlight and that if it would be easier to have it in black to read those words.
Sure.
I like the idea of a V-shaped sign at Hoffman Boulevard.
Okay.
The thing we would need to do then is have some type of arrows, because Cabela's, Marriott, and Main Event are all not within viewing distance, Marriott somewhat, but the other ones are not, and I would hate to have people driving around the shopping center itself looking for those, since that's right at the entrance. I'm trying to look at it as a stranger coming up upon it, because we were out looking for a place to go yesterday for a party, and when you don't see it on the sign, you tend to miss it. So
Yeah.
I'd like to see something like that. The sign with all of the names on it, while I like it, it's almost too much.
It's a lot.
Yeah. And to put something like that down by the Park District is a waste.
Yep.
Because they would turn in there and nothing's there.
Sure.
So that doesn't make any sense. We've got to think of the person who's not from Hoffman who pulls up and says, oh, okay, that's where I'm trying to go. So we need to be able to make it easier for them to find it.
Yeah.
I also like the stone. Now, a couple other questions with the advertisers.
Yeah.
The money that they bought, the paid time that they have, will that go into our fund, or does it go to the people who actually own the land? That's something we'd have to address in the paperwork. Okay, but we need to make sure, since they own the land,
Yeah.
they're not gonna own the
Yep.
sign, we own the
Yep.
signs, but there's gotta be some kind of agreement that that's our
Yes.
funds.
Yep, that's a great point to add that in.
We believe that we know with the Park District, they just are going to want to have reciprocal to what they do
Sure.
for us now. For the other property owner, they've talked about the ability to have one of their main buildings or tenants at the property and near here to be itemized on the fix and then some time on the sign. So they may not ask, they may get some free advertising, but not any of the cash is the hope.
And, I would love to see the video, but that's not our property, and it's a shopping center by itself is not our problem, although we want it there, we want to have the stores doing well.
Yeah.
And so we've got to look at where do we want, that's the only question I have, putting the one sign down by the Park District, is it to our advantage for the businesses?
Sure.
But I do like it at Hoffman and 59, I think.
And I think that was the idea, was Hoffman and 59 is really where you want
Yeah.
to spend your money, where you want to make the big impact.
Right.
But for the businesses like Cabela's, that's one of the main entrances for Cabela's, right? And so,
And they're hidden.
and even going down to main
Yeah.
event. So I think we still want something, but it's definitely going to be a scaled back. There'll be two designs here. There'll be this one and then a scaled back version of this one, but it'll still have the same elements, so
Yeah.
you recognize it's the same district.
I mean, it'd be nice to have more businesses on that list, but like I said, if it's too many, people just aren't going to be able to stop while they're driving. You
Right.
want them to be able to focus quickly.
And then I think the other idea with, you only have 4 spots, who gets them? The people that get them are the people
That's
that,
not there.
that come in the most often.
Yeah.
So the Sears Center draws the most people, Cabela's draws the most people. Who are the next 2? Is it main event? Is it Duluth? And then do they want to be fixed permanently on there? And if they don't, okay, then you pass them up and you go to the next person to see if they want to be on
And I
there.
think, Mr. Norris, for reminding me of the question I forgot to write down here, is, you don't have the Sears Center Arena on that big sign.
No, yeah. And they just printed these off when he submitted the
Yeah.
design, so, I mean, definitely. we
But I
would
mean,
be
those 4
putting them
businesses are
on.
all ones we want on there.
Yeah,
But we've got to find a place to put the Sears Center, whether you put that up on top instead of Entertainment District.
sure,
That might be the
Yeah.
place to put it.
yeah.
Yeah, probably take the place of Target, because I think Kevin's right. I think the shopping center is going to buy and use the digital sign for their tenants.
Okay,
Mayor.
that's all.
Yeah, I like the aluminum look, and I'm really tired of rocks and stones. I think it'll stand out more if you don't have a bunch of stones. We have so many prairie stones and rocks, and get away from the rocks. I think it'll make it stand out more. It'll just be another rock if you put rocks all over it.
Yeah. I like the aluminum too. Do you like the stone on the bottom? Would you rather have, I mean, you got to put something on the bottom. Do you want stone? Do you want brick? Do you want just like a
You could use an aluminum clad
stucco
base.
material, aluminum clad base? Yeah.
To be honest, I like the aluminum, but I agree with trustee Mills that in the sunlight, that's going to just,
Sure.
everybody won't be able to see it well.
And maybe we do something then it's black with a backlit or something. So at nighttime it pops out still too. But that's good to know. Thank you.
And there are products out there now that are not real one stone at a time. You can buy things, other materials that have the stone effect.
Councilor Janura.
Question, I know that this board has discussed this in the past, and that has to do with renting out time on the signs. We're going to be limiting it to businesses that are within the district?
Yes.
Yeah. So we don't have to worry about the rentals?
Ku Klux Klan and
Even
everybody else,
narrower
yeah.
than Prairie Stone. It's going to be in the entertainment district.
Yep.
In the certain zoning classification.
Yeah.
Trustee Palafis.
Yes.
Kevin, could the 4 primary logos be digital? So they could be changed easily?
Digital boards.
Yeah.
That you would keep permanent unless you wanted to
Or
change them.
maybe you scroll, maybe, every 30 seconds, goes, Cabela's turns into main event. And so that way you can get more content into the same area. So instead of 1 big digital, you would have 1 big digital and then 4 small digital.
It could. You probably know this. The digital is the most expensive part of the
Sure.
sign. But like you said, you can get more advertising.
Oh, yeah.
I know we're going to want I know some people are going to want their name on there permanently, so if that's the case, you know, if you scroll through and say, we'll put 2 names on this one sign, Cabela's might say, we want to pay for both names, so our name is permanently on there, which they could.
That'd be a great option.
But yeah, we'll definitely explore that.
And that way they actually buy down the overall cost of the implementation and purchase.
It's an interesting thought too, because then if you do have a big event, Women's Big Ten or something, you could almost have then 5 boards that you can utilize and change in some different way for some event that's at the Sears Center to really make them feel welcome more than just a big rectangle slide that projects every few seconds.
Do we have a consensus as far as what kind of sign we want to see at Hoffman and 59?
I like the first one, the square one, that is with the metal. And the mayor brings up a very good point. All the monuments that you see around and so forth, they all have stone, stone, stone. So where that one doesn't, and I think it does stand out, right? As far as where you're going to be putting the advertisers, like Trustee Falafa said, that makes sense also, but the heavy hitters, they're the ones that want their name up there all the time. They don't even want it to move. So when, just like Trustee Mills said, that is correct. You know, you pull in someplace, and if you don't see the name, you start driving around for it, and then after a while you get tired of that and say, oh, the heck with it, right? I don't think it's an easy thing, what you're showing us to have it do all those things, right? And the size for it. But I like that one, the one that is on the right, for the main one.
Now, that's not V-shaped either, though, right?
I mean, it certainly could be. We will definitely be exploring that kind of in the due diligence when we sit down with the different property owners and to see, you know, seeing from the street views and if there's, you know, 100-foot setback there, what size sign should we have? Can you view it from all 4 intersections? Do you want to view it from all? You can view it from 3 how it is now. Is the 4th intersection worth another $200,000? And that's kind of what we'll start to go through when we look through it all.
And I
And
can
we'll
add,
bring, working with the design, assuming this gets awarded, working with the designer, we'll bring all that back to committee with the price points before we go to the final.
and then I can add on the location, working on those, the discs that are out there, which I did for probably 2 years with McShane before they actually got installed. We probably met on the site 5-6 times with mock-ups and positioning, and because 59 is curving at that point, and you know, just everything isn't square, so it's a big challenge, but it's something obviously that's critical to get the bang for the buck.
Is McShane still the owner of the property that we're dealing with?
Yes.
Okay.
That where the sign is now, they own the property, but it's in the easement setback that can't be built upon within Prairie Stone there. So it's kind of land that they own that they're not going to be able to do anything with anyway.
And we have to deal with the POA for approvals as well.
Yep. So that'll be part of our meetings too, is to meet with them and talk and.
Mary, did you have another question, or was
No,
that was it?
my question.
Yeah.
Where's the property owners association on this?
The other
We may
thing I'll
be
mention
spinning our
too.
wheels.
Yeah.
This is phase 1 for signage in here. The idea is that phase 2 will be taking down those blue wayfinding signs and putting up a permanent one in a similar feature for however the gateway sign looks, if that makes sense. So Trustee Gata, getting into the park and finding, that's where the wayfinding signage really comes into play. And you mentioned putting arrows on there. That's what Mike and I and Mark were out there earlier this year to say, okay, where are we going to put the sign to get people to Duluth and to get people to main event? Well, we got to put it before you turn into, or just after the driveway, because we don't want people going into the shopping center. So that's a great point. But after we get this design, then we'll take elements from that design to do the wayfinding.
Trustee Newell?
Okay, you were asking for consensus. I like the one on the right. Like you said, enough with the stone. But the metal is, is that going to be one of those types that doesn't like tarnish over years or it starts to, because of weather?
Yeah, that would be my goal. Unless you want it looking like the Trump building, then we can get some of that rusty.
I don't
Well,
think we want
I'm just-
anything looking like the Trump building.
I'm just,
Trump building.
Get that F out there.
Yeah, that's the goal, is to keep it looking like this.
well, you don't want
and-
somebody having to go out there with a clot and shine it all the time.
Yeah,
I'm just
right,
saying that, you want some type of metal that's going to kind of hold up.
Yeah.
And then if we're going to use black, because from here, seriously, with the lighting, I can't tell you what that says up there.
Yeah, okay. That's
It
great-
runs
great to
right
know.
into it, so that's all I have to say.
And we're talking about not wanting stone, but on the bottom, that is stone, is it not?
Yeah, I think that looks different, though. What we were talking about is the standard-looking monument
Okay.
stone.
Oh, yeah, no,
So
I
the
get
stone
that.
going all the
Right,
way around it.
Yeah,
sort
that
of,
on the
yeah.
bottom, I don't think detracts at all from it.
Okay.
Oh, it adds.
All right, Trustee Palafis.
I was just going to say, in light of consensus, I mentioned right out of the gate, I like the stone, but I agree with the mayor. There's a lot of it out there. So if you do something, more modern without the stone, that, the base looks, shiny and metallic, that's pretty cool too.
Does the sign guy have any comments?
Taking a lot of notes back.
Come on up to the microphone here. Yeah.
Why don't you give us your name and address as well?
Sure. My name's Anthony Hornbeck. I work for Watchfire Signs. I am the Chicago Territory Manager. Watchfire is out of Danville, Illinois, so just a couple hours from here. I was just here mostly just to kind of hear the same considerations, see if there's anything I can address specifically. Listening to your comments about maybe finding some digital signage, the 5 smaller digital signs. One nice thing about our software is that you can add zones into the software, so you could create part of the screen it's static and the rest can adjust. But there's many options that can be considered later on.
So to interpret what you just said, or to try to, we could go with a larger size sign and then have it zoned so that the ones on the left, for example, on the one on the right, that the smaller left-hand, what were portrayed as permanent, would be part of the same sign face, but they would be up like that. Or, as Trustee Palafis said, they could cycle if somebody wanted to pay.
Absolutely.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I guess, and thinking of nowadays, if you've been to a Cubs game since they got their new boards, how, I think it's the left field board, where they have the player that's, sorry Bruce, where they have the player that's hitting and pitching, and then they have their stats, but on the side, they'll have advertisements there, and then they'll have something else scrolling. That's all one board that, like he was saying, it's just separate zones that we could consider too.
Okay, anybody else have any other questions up here?
I would just say price it out with that as an option.
Sure.
All right, we have,
Check with Karen.
yes, I did.
Okay.
Do you have a question now?
No, I don't have a question. I'll just say that I like the bigger one too, on the right.
Okay.
I'm with you, Karen.
All right, I'll make it unanimous. We have a request, we have a motion and a second for approval. Do we, let's make, all those in favor of the request and the second, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. And there you go, Kev.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, second is a request acceptance of the Department of Development Services monthly report for Planning Division.
Second.
Any questions on that? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. It's approved. Request acceptance of the Department of Development Services monthly report for Code Enforcement Division.
So moved.
Second?
Thank you. Anybody notice any questions or have any questions regarding that? No? Okay, all those in favor of the motion and second, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. That's approved. And request acceptance of the Department of Development Services monthly report for economic development and tourism.
So
Kevin?
moved.
Second.
Thank you. Do you have anything to add, Kev? No, nothing. Okay, thank you. Any questions up here, Kevin? No? Okay. All those in favor of the motion and second, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. And President's report.
Nothing else, trustee Stanton?
We have nothing in other or items in review, so I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We are adjourned.
I'd like to call the General Administration and Personnel Committee for November 13th, 2017. Could I have a roll call, please?
Chairman Arnett.
Present.
Vice Chairman Mills.
Present.
Trustee Stanton.
Present.
Trustee Newell.
Present.
Trustee Palafis.
Present.
Trustee Gata.
Present.
Mayor McLeod.
Present.
Thank you. We do have a quorum. If I can get a motion for approval of minutes for October 9th, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any questions or anything, corrections, additions? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, we have 4 new items under new business. Number 1 is discussion regarding redesign of village website. Does staff have anything?
Yes, indeed. Last but not least, hopefully you guys still have some patience left. We are up for a redesign on our website with our current provider, which is Vision Internet. It's under the subscription agreement that we have with them right now. At every 4 years, we get a complimentary redesign. So what we're looking for this evening from the committee is approval to move forward on the redesign, and also we have a couple of feedback options for you that we're looking for. There was an extended process that the previous assistant to the village manager went through leading up to this. There was a number of avenues that she went down looking for feedback from the committee and also from staff and from chairs of the commissions, and also there was a public survey that was done. And back in 2016, these are the options that came up most commonly as what we were looking for. Wider images and a clean, updated look. Our website, you'll see it in a moment, is a little bit older and could really use something, a refresh. Central buttons for commonly used items was a big seller. Features and organization that are similar to the village's current site. One of the concerns that came up was that we wanted to make sure that people who are regular users of the site can actually find the things that they're looking for continually. Scrolling was a big debate, whether it's better to have everything visible when you first come up, or whether it's okay to have to move up and down to look for things. Opportunities to feature specific news stories, which we have on our current site, and we really like that feature because it gives us an opportunity to really focus people's attention on the things that are coming up quickly. The search bar on our website was a debate. The one that we have right now is sort of hidden in the upper right corner. A lot of websites you see these days have a search bar that's central to the website, and some people like that and some people don't, but the feedback that was received in 2016 indicated that maybe that wasn't something we necessarily wanted to feature as prominently, and I'll show you an example shortly. And then also a monthly calendar. Right now, our calendar only shows the next 3 upcoming events. And so having something that was a little more visually appealing and also jumped out at you and was easily used. So the way that this is structured, it's more of the complementary redesign that we get isn't really so much of a redesign as a refresh. So there are 4 templates from which we need to choose as the base design for the website, and I'll show you those shortly, and they were in your packet as well. And then also there are some additional items that were offered to us, some of which have an additional cost associated with them. So we need to look at those and decide what we're interested in moving forward with. This is our current website. Those of you who have seen it before are very familiar with it, I'm sure. Here we see the news items that are most featured. Here's the calendar with the upcoming events where we only show the 3. And then we do have some buttons, but they blend in a little bit. So what we're looking for really is something that utilizes the full screen of the website and is a little more updated and looks a little fresher. The staff committee that was put together in 2016, when Vision offered us these 4 templates that we need to choose from, the staff committee was asked for input on which of the designs they thought best fit what we were looking for, just in terms of those items I discussed earlier. And overwhelmingly, I think we had about 15 people give us input, and 14 of the 15 came back with this one as their choice. You can see we still have the option for news items both down here and at the top, so you can feature whatever you want to feature. The pictures here can scroll. It takes up the full width of the page. And here is the events listed. This is the way that they have it currently with the 3 upcoming, but we do have the option, which we'll talk about in a minute, of putting in a monthly calendar in this area. So that's the first one. And then there are 3 other options that they gave us as well. This one has it's a little cleaner looking, there's less going on, but it's also much longer, as you can see, so you have to scroll all the way down to see a lot of the items. And the feedback indicated that that's not necessarily something we were interested in having, so. Here we have option 3, which is wider, but it also does have this search bar. So this is, as I was talking about, the idea here is that people don't have to go through the menus to look for information. They would just type the information in and automatically, be able to find what they were looking for. This works sometimes and sometimes it doesn't. So, that's an issue that we need to consider, I think. And then option 4 is traditional, which I think just looks a little bit sort of similar to our current website. A lot of the information is static. This picture on the outside doesn't change at all. The pictures here do scroll. And it's something to consider too, is these are just bases, okay? So these are just the templates on which the base, our website would be built. The images, the colors, all of that, the fonts and those sorts of things, we would be able to change as we move forward, and we can select those. So those are the 4. So I'm interested to see sort of if we have any feedback on that.
Trustee Palafis?
Thank you. I like the split wireframe, which I think was the predominant vote of the committee. But I'm curious, out of the 4 templates, is there one or another that works best with a mobility platform? Like, most people use iPhones now instead of an at-home computer and, a mobile platform of sorts. Are there any of the templates that are more mobile-friendly versus fixed?
Yeah, I believe that all of the templates are mobile-friendly. You can see some of them have this kind of space to the sides, like here and here, where it doesn't spread all the way across, and that's in order to make it more mobile-friendly, so that when you turn your phone or, use a different device, they have space with which to play. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And then one of the staff recommendations was to replace the Google search with the Vision search.
Yes.
I can't imagine in my mind how Vision search could be more advanced than the #1 search engine in the world.
Well,
but I'm sure maybe built into their template structure, you could describe how they differentiate their platform.
Absolutely. The Vision search is Google search is wonderful for a wider internet search, but it doesn't index individual websites quite as well as you would hope. One example is we have the Google search on our website currently, and if you just put in a search topic, you can come up with information from 2010, 2012. The information, it's not prioritized in the way that you would like it to be. So with Vision Search, staff and Vision as well would have the opportunity to go in and customize those things, put in the most commonly searched terms, put in aliases. So if you search for, code versus enforcement, you would still get that same cache of information that comes up. So it's a little more work intensive, I think, from a staff perspective, but it improves the results dramatically for the end users.
Awesome. You had me at better indexing. But I wanted to hear the whole description, so I let you go. The Google Translate, I think, is a great thing because we have so many different multicultures that live here. I know when we were doing the application for a grant, it was like 81 different languages, which I know you're not going to have. But, the majors in terms of, our population, I can see you having. And I like the calendar because a lot of people, want to know what's going on quickly, which is why I was curious about the mobile-friendly template because, that calendar piece could really come into play in the mobile platform in terms of a value add, which today it's clunky.
Yeah, absolutely.
Trustee Mills?
I tend to also like the split wireframe for one reason. It gives it all right there for you, but I definitely would like to see more of the monthly calendar on there than just the 3 events. Another question where you've got the buttons for permits and forms, pay your utility bill, et cetera. Could you add other buttons to that, more than the 5?
I think that's a question for Vision as we move forward.
Okay.
Again, this is a template that they have,
Okay.
and it's sort of an out-of-the-box thing, and with very limited options for us to customize it.
Okay.
That is something, though, that staff has the ability to adjust. And if
Alright.
we keep an eye on the usage stats, we can go back and change those out for things that are more common. We also have the option to highlight things in either the menus or in that news item there.
Yeah,
in
I
the central
tended to
page.
like the way that Mount Prospect one is, too. That's nice and colorful. I mean, the background picture is very pretty, but someone's going to the website not to look at a picture, they're looking for info. So the more we can provide on there, the better off it is. That's all.
Trustee Palafis?
So, off of Trustee Mills's comment, could you ask Vision if they have the ability to take their indexes that are most searched for and automatically populate those 5 buttons? So, in other words, like a hot topics. I'm not saying if I hit the website with a crawler 50,000 times for the name Gary Palafis that it would show up there. But it could. But it could. It could be a hot topic.
But again, staff would have the opportunity to control that.
That's right.
yeah,
So you have,
we can
you have
shut it
the
down.
override button. That's right. Just saying.
Put his picture on the front.
But in all seriousness, if that search engine could automatically populate those 5 with or maybe 2 of the 5 are hot topics,
Yeah.
that would be pretty awesome.
I think I can ask that.
Suzanne, can you put the search wireframe up there again?
There it is.
See, I like that layout, but I like the information that's on the split wire too.
Trustee Arnett, do you like that one because the search is more prominent or because it's wider,
Because it's wider and it doesn't seem as,
condensed?
yes.
Okay. I just want to know if it was really the search button, because we have the ability, I believe, to add it into the split wire frame and at a certain size too.
It will, the search button will definitely be there no matter which of these options we choose. There's definitely a search button that's included, or search bar, excuse me. But here you can see it's sort of up in the, I guess, upper
hard
right-hand
to
corner,
spot it
and
up
it's kind of
there.
small
Yeah.
up there, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's similar to how it is on our current site. You can find it, but you have to know what you're looking for.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions?
I like either 1 or 3, whichever the case is, either the split or the search wireframe, alternative 2. So either one is fine with me.
Trustee Newell?
I do like the split wire frame, but I would kind of like with a couple of other comments, the monthly calendar, so that you can hover over it, and if it's a really big, huge special event, maybe in a different color or something on it, so you could spot it right away.
This is the example of the monthly calendar that we're talking about. This is the Mount Prospect website, Village of Mount Prospect. And I can show you a little bit, hopefully, if this actually goes out to the internet, find out. Show you a little bit of how it actually works in practice. The way that they have theirs structured, you can see the calendar isn't immediately visible. It's hidden here behind the news items. So that's not something I don't think that we would be able to do. But So there's their calendar, and if you hover over the numbers, it shows you what's going on that particular day. It still does show the 3 upcoming items, but it has this monthly calendar as well. The days that have meetings scheduled are underlined, and then obviously when you hover over them, they change color. If you click through to it, it opens up, theoretically. Oh.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. Okay. Well, if you open it up, you can see the full month calendar. Okay. In any case, we tried. All right, so you can sort of see it a little bit. If you hover over it, the numbers change colors. There's a listing of whichever meetings are happening that day and the times, so those are visible, and if you click through, you get more information.
Kind of like the calendars on our iPhones.
Yeah, similar to that. Yeah. So again, we would have the opportunity to add that monthly calendar to any of the templates that we were to choose. There is a cost associated with that, of course. Yes. I'm sorry.
Sorry, trustee Palafis.
I have one more question. If you go back to the split wireframe, if you could ask them if there's an option. So do you see the message banner where it says Village's resident satisfaction beats national average? That right above the 5 buttons.
Yep.
If that could be the search window instead of a message banner,
Yeah,
that would almost be the best of, 2 templates put together.
I agree with you.
That'd be pretty cool.
Which one are you talking about?
So, Mike, the one she has up, you see the 5 buttons? Above that, there's kind of a dark rectangular box. If that was the search window, you'd kind of have the best of both worlds. Because a lot of people don't know what they're looking for. So, having that right on the initial screen adds a lot of value in a prominent place.
that is provided, of course, that it actually returns search results that you're actually looking for.
Yeah. Well, you
Yeah.
sold us on the indexes and the fact that they can, so, That's right. That's right.
Anybody else have any comments or questions? Okay, so we need a motion to go ahead and move forward with the redesign or re-enhancement.
I'll make a motion that we proceed, or direct staff to move forward with the recommended feedback for the redesign of the village website.
I'll second.
With the recommended options, which includes the calendar and the language and those
Yes,
things.
which includes the Google Translate, the proprietary website search tool, the expanded monthly calendar.
How do we feel about training?
The training, I think, is imperative because you're going to have to know how to do all these things we just asked for. So-
Absolutely. Yeah.
At least 1 or 2 backups.
And then the other two options that we were discussing were the mega menus. There's a picture of that at the end. The feedback that we received in 2016 wasn't necessarily in favor of that option, but it wasn't against either. And that's going to cost us $2,750. Here's an example. So looking at the top menu, the drop-downs, all of it's there. So you don't have to go through sub-menus to get to where you're going. But, we'll have to talk about whether it's worth it.
Is that annually?
No, that's a one-time cost.
But what's the fun
Yeah.
of it if you can't scroll down or, going through so many different subtitles to find what you're looking for?
And the way that this works is that the menus that currently exist on our website will mimic what we end up with on our new website. The only way to change that is to have a staff initiative to go through and sort of clean things up and reallocate where things are if we wanted to do that.
Trustee Palafis?
So the mega menus are good if you have people that don't know what they're looking for. So you mouse over or click and you get a menu of everything at one shot. It's like you ever been to those restaurants that have like a 6-page menu? Don't even know where to turn. As opposed to a 1-page menu, with all of the options. I guess it's the best analogy I can think of. But there, it's kind of a replacement for a quick search or in addition to a quick search. I like the mega menus, but I don't know why in 2016, I don't even remember what I had for lunch yesterday, but why in 2016, we didn't favor that.
Feedback was mixed. There wasn't necessarily a mandate
Yeah.
to move forward with it or not, which is why we're,
I think for $2,700, it's a good option to have.
Yeah.
It got us too close to what Dr. Steinberg wanted.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. One click.
One click.
Well, and honestly, we actually build our websites as 2-click websites commercially. If you can't get there in 2 clicks, it's not right. And I don't care what you're looking for. So, because, you're only 2 clicks away from going to another website at that point. So,
luckily we have a monopoly here.
but this isn't a retail website where you're generating.
So you adding that to your
Revenue.
motion?
Yeah, so I'll add the mega menus as a part of my motion.
And I agree to that.
Okay, so do we have a second? Oh,
Yeah, I did.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Ayes have it. Thank you, Suzanne. Item number 2, request acceptance of cable TV monthly report.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, any questions or anything to add? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 3, request acceptance of human resources management monthly report.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or nothing? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Number 4, request acceptance of legislative operations and outreach monthly report.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, any questions or, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Anything for the president's report?
Nothing else, trustee Arnett.
Okay, thank you. I see nothing in other, and there's nothing in items in review. Can I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We are adjourned.